Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right back into Mario Benedetti's absolute masterpiece, Don't Give Up. We're focusing on part 2 of our breakdown, specifically zeroing in on that massive internal pivot, the shift. We're going to unpack the exact mechanics of moving from just merely surviving to actually thriving, all by focusing on the moment we finally learn to let go. So let's jump right in. Accept your shadows, bury your fears, release the burden, resume flight. Now, these 4 lines represent the crucial transformative shift of the entire poem. If the first part was all about acknowledging our pain, well, these verses right here, they're basically a direct personal coaching session. Benedetti totally strips away the abstract stuff and hands us 4 incredibly distinct, actionable commands. It's literally a roadmap for resilience. Let's break down exactly how we execute this, starting with step 1. Step 1, accept your shadows. Now, this one's heavy. Your shadows are those complicated, painful realities, right? The mistakes, the grief, maybe the unfair hands you've been dealt in life. But notice, Benedetti isn't telling us to fight them or try to outrun them. He's saying that acceptance is the absolute prerequisite for moving forward. Think about it. You really can't navigate a map if you refuse to acknowledge where you're currently standing. So I have to ask you directly, what are the shadows you are currently fighting instead of accepting? How much of your daily mental bandwidth just goes toward being angry that things aren't different? You know, fighting reality is a battle with a 100% failure rate. When we refuse to accept our shadows, we're just keeping ourselves tethered right to them. This actually mirrors exactly what the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught back in the day with the Enchiridion. We've got to draw a hard, bold line between what's within our power, like our opinions, our motivation, our desires, and what absolutely isn't, like our bodies, property, or reputation. Epictetus was super blunt about this. He said if you try to control things outside your power, you are bound to be a slave to them. Accepting your shadows just means figuring out exactly which side of that line your current problems live on. Okay, so once you hit acceptance, the next command is surprisingly aggressive. Bury your fears. Now, obviously, you're going to feel fear about the future. That's human. But fear isn't meant to be a permanent roommate. It's something you can and should actively put in the ground. Benedetti totally shifts the tone here to remind us that we can't just passively wait out our anxieties. We actually have to do something about them. To see how we practically pull this off, let's cross-pollinate this poetry with Dale Carnegie's foundational techniques for analyzing worry. It's kind of wild how perfectly Benedetti's poetic vision aligns with Carnegie's sheer pragmatism. Carnegie figured out early on that when fear takes over, our minds just spin out of control. And to stop that spinning, you don't need more generic motivation. You need a rock-solid concrete system. Because burying fear isn't just some nice poetic metaphor, it's a mechanical process. Carnegie lays it out in 3 basic steps. Step 1, get all the facts impartially. Step 2, weigh those facts and make a firm decision. And step 3, this is the real game changer. Once a decision is reached, act. You literally bury your fear with a shovel of action. Action cures fear. Because when you're busy executing a decision, you just don't have the mental bandwidth to sit around worrying. You put the fear in the ground and you walk away. With those fears firmly in the ground, we arrive at the absolute core mechanics of letting go, liberare el lastre, or releasing the burden. This phrase is a massive light bulb moment. It explains exactly why we can still feel so stuck even after we've decided to move on. You've accepted reality, you've taken action, but you still feel incredibly heavy. Why? Well, it's because you're still hauling around your old survival mechanisms. Think about what a burden or ballast actually is. It's heavy material, like sandbags on a hot air balloon, used to stabilize a vessel. It gives you absolutely crucial stability during a violent storm. But here's the catch. It completely prevents you from taking flight once the sky's clear. In our own lives, our ballast is the defenses we built up when we were hurt. Cynicism, emotional walls, the need to micromanage everything. Sure, they kept you safe when things were chaotic. But the storm has passed. And if you don't cut those sandbags loose, you're literally never getting off the ground. So, think about this deeply for a second. What ballast are you carrying right now? What emotional baggage or past failures are currently acting as those sandbags in your life? Maybe you're clinging to anger because it makes you feel protected. Or maybe you're carrying this crushing weight of perfectionism just because you're terrified of criticism. You have to identify the exact sandbags tying you down before you can even reach for the knives to cut them away. Carnegie actually tackles this brilliantly in his advice to break the worry habit before it breaks you. He tells us to cooperate with the inevitable and then place a literal stop-loss order on our worries, just like in the stock market. You look at the heavy burden you're carrying and you decide, okay, I have given this issue exactly 3 days of my peace of mind, and it is not worth a single second more. You hit your stop-loss limit, you cooperate with reality, and you systematically refuse to carry that weight any further. You just release the ballast. And as you release that burden, something amazing happens. You are finally ready to resume flight. The really heavy, exhausting internal work is done. You're no longer weighed down, you're no longer fighting shadows or paralyzed by fear. You are light, and you are finally ready to ascend.
Benedetti powerfully reminds you here, still there is fire in your soul, still there is life in your dreams. Listen to the rhythm he builds in those lines. It's like a drumbeat of resilience. He's telling you that no matter how harsh the winter was, no matter how hard the storm hit, there is an indestructible core inside of you. There is a spark that simply hasn't gone out.
And this is where we build incredible momentum. Why must you fly again? Because this life is yours. You are not a passive bystander or a victim of circumstance. The life belongs to you. The desire to change, to grow, to love, that belongs to you too. And because of that, every single day is a new beginning. Every morning you wake up is an untouched canvas just waiting for you. Spread your wings and try again. Celebrate life and retake the skies. This brings us to the uplifting climax of our entire internal journey. It's about stepping totally out of survival mode and actively celebrating life. It's taking all of that newly emptied space, where your fears and heavy burdens used to live, and filling it with the pure celebration of simply being alive. Just look at the complete transformative pivot we've made here. We've shifted from the exhausting burden of fighting unchangeable shadows to the stoic acceptance of reality. We've moved from being completely paralyzed by fear to mechanically making decisions and acting on them. And most importantly, we've identified the heavy emotional ballast that used to protect us, and we've cut it loose so we can finally take to the skies. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you choose to drop your ballots today and retake your skies? The facts are in, the decision is yours. So what exactly is stopping you from cutting the cord on your ballots right now? The shadows might be a part of you, but they absolutely do not define you. Your fear is just a signal. It's not a stop sign. The sky is waiting, and as Benedetti promises us, it is never too late to start again. Identify that heavy weight you've been dragging around, decide how much more of your life you're willing to sacrifice to it, and drop it. It is